Welcome everyone to geNEOusChats. We're here with Marcela Betancourt from Bogota, from Escuela Moderna in Bogota. And I wonder, sorry, Gimnasio Moderno, no? And would you like to introduce yourself, just for our listeners who might not know your school, Marcela?
Hi, I'm Marcela Betancourt. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. I'm a speech therapist, but actually I have a master's degree in bilingual education, and I work as a bilingual coordinator for Gimnasio Moderno. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Marcela. The pleasure is ours, and we're really lucky to have you here. So thank you for attending this geNEOusChat today.
Thank you for inviting me.
We thought we might chat tonight about the wellness spaces, you know, the strategy that you implemented to help your students or your pupils focus on their own well-being during the pandemic, because it's a good topic right now, and it'd be something that could be shared around the world as well, and people would be very interested to hear, because everyone is trying to tackle it, but you know, everyone has their different ways of implementing it. So it's a good time for knowledge sharing, and so mainly really focusing on that, if that's okay. And
yeah, it's perfect. Well, to be honest, at the beginning of the situation, that for us, it was in March, I guess that for you was as well, that we closed like schools and we went into the virtual part. And what we did at the beginning, to be honest, is that we just switched the schedule that we had initially at school. We switched it to the virtual part. That's what we did at the beginning, and we did it for a whole month. But we started feeling that my school is Gimnasio Moderno. It's only a boys' school, and we started like feeling that the boys were not turning on the cameras, they were not attending classes, and we started to think, what's going on? Something's happening. They are not attending classes, they were not turning on the cameras, the teachers always take attendance. And there is where we made a stop, and we said, hey, something's happening. The students were not motivated, and we said, well, what can we do? So at my school, we have been working with something that we call positive psychology. And positive psychology, it's like giving the students like a space to talk about their feelings, mainly, to talk about like different things they were feeling at the moment. And that was like the first step of the first phase we did. So what we did is that we work with Zoom as well, virtually. So we did like breakout rooms, and we divided, we have like 25 or 24 students per class. We divided them with the psychologists and with the different experts we have in positive psychology. And the first phase, we call it the first phase of this whole well-being spaces. And the first thing that we did is we did the break rooms, and we told them, okay, talk, express all the things that you want to express about the situation. They were angry, they were frustrated, they were worried, they were scared, and they just start speaking out and saying, I'm scared, I don't know what's going to happen, I've been fighting with my parents. And they just started to speak out all these things to the psychologist. We took all this information, and through what we called homeroom teachers, I don't know if you know what the homeroom teachers is, like the tutor that they have, we tried to filter all the things that they were expressing. Frustration, they were scared, they were anxious, they were furious, and they were afraid they were going to lose their friends, they were afraid of death, they were afraid of many, many, many things. Yeah. So in the first phase, we took all the information, and then we decided to open in the schedule that we had. For example, if they had, I don't know, 5 hours of math, we reduced the 5 hours of math to 3 hours of math, and we had 2 hours of what we call well-being. And the psychologists with the homeroom teachers, they started talking about different topics. Okay, so we divided them in groups again. If they were, I don't know, furious with life, what's going on. So we had different chats and they started talking and they had different interactions with different boys of different levels talking, hey, how can you help me? Or why do you feel this way? And it was only interaction, talking and talking and talking and talking about the situation. And we were able to like detect those students that were really, really strong, yeah, and those that were really, really weak in the situation. So those that were really weak in the situation, we send them straight to the psychologist, and the ones that were really strong, yeah, we assign like different tutor positions to them to help other students that were the smaller ones, yeah. Once we did all these things, we were ready to open the well-being spaces. So what we did, we didn't talk anymore about the situation. We didn't talk about, hey, the pandemic. No, we just stopped talking about it. And what we did is, what would you like to do? Then we switched to the other way. What would you like to do? So let's play video games in the space, or let's do, I don't know, literature, or let's play chess, or let's play this, or I just want to talk this, or I want to have interaction with a girls' school because we are only boys. So they started proposing tons of different situations or activities they wanted to do. So we reduced our schedule and we started proposing all these activities, but they were not proposed by teachers, but they were proposed by those students that we felt they were really strong. Yeah. So the strong students were the ones that were giving the well-being to the other students, to the students in other levels. And those that were really in a critical situations were the ones that the psychologists of the schools were treating them or working with them in other spaces. That was like the second phase that we worked with. And the third phase that we worked at, it was like October, mid-October, is that we asked the government if we could have some spaces in school and have different types of interaction, which the government gave us permission. So for example, if we had a class of 25, and I don't know, 10 or 8 students could go that day. So we made different schedules and they were able to go, and everything was focused on interaction. Everything was focused on having these social spaces. They were not allowed to play football. They were not allowed to play basketball. They were not allowed to do anything. So at least if they could talk, it was a good space. And that space in school, I mean, having the mask, having gloves and having everything, I mean, all the legal things that we had was a really good thing. So we had like 3 phases of the well-being, and it went really well. So reducing the academic and giving more importance to the feelings. What were they feeling?
Well, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean, you can't possibly focus on the academic unless, you know, the well-being is taken care of. But just to summarize because I mean, there's a lot of, there'll be teachers watching this and school administrators and things who, you know, will be curious about the process. And just to check that I've got this right. So you had a kind of, almost like a free form first phase where they were encouraged just to let loose, like a brain dump, express their feelings. And I guess because they already worked with the educational psychologist or the psychologist within the school, they were already comfortable in that space, no? So they were able to just say exactly how they were feeling, and you use that as a diagnostic, if I understand. Almost to see who was coping.
The thing is when you start hearing all this people talking, you immediately can just tell this one is really frustrated. Yeah. This one is taking things easier. Yeah, so you can take it like a diagnostic, more or less. And we had certain students that were really in a crisis. I mean, we had certain students that were really having a really bad time.
So you were able to then, instead of trying to focus your energies on everybody equally, you were able to identify who was at most need. And the interesting thing, and because we've talked a lot about this, and Alejandra and I have talked a lot about things like peer teaching and, you know, taking the hierarchy away a little bit and making it a little bit flatter. And it sounds like that's what you've done there by appointing. I mean, how did you do this when you saw some of the students that seemed like a bit more together, a bit more grounded, a bit more in control and in touch with their feelings, and you said, hey, you might be able to help some of your classmates? I mean, how did you
You know, that's the expertise that the homeroom teachers have. I mean,
yeah,
the teachers have this expertise, and what I always say, they have this eye and this feeling, this sense to identify how the students are feeling, that it's amazing. They can tell you, I mean, the student is struggling, or they can tell you the student, I mean, he can be successful in any type of situation. So we trust in our homeroom teachers, and I think that's why we are really successful in what we do, because they have this feeling to identify things really good. But it's the expertise they have on things.
yeah.
That
Okay.
sounds just great. Marcela, I do have one question for you, because this is extremely inspiring, I believe, and I think we should be able to take this as best practices. This is only, I mean, we're still in the middle of the pandemic. There are some schools still trying to figure out what to do, how to best help the kids. And as I was discussing with you at some point, I think the school has become a place where it's no longer about the academics, and you mentioned it pretty clearly. And the actual family has become now part of the school, and vice versa. And I would like to know, what were the comments or the conversations you had with parents around this initiative that you implemented? How was it perceived? Because themselves, they didn't know how to react. I believe all of this was new for everyone. So maybe in some extent, the exercises would have been interesting for parents to hear and apply for themselves as well. So I was wondering, how was this perceived by parents?
Oh, you can find any type of opinion, but I would say like in an 80%, parents were really grateful, because many of them, they don't know what to do with their kid at home. Yeah. And they struggle with kids at home, and they don't know how to manage the feelings of their kids at home. Yeah. And when you start managing all this, that kids close the door, they don't want to turn on the video, they don't want to study, they don't want to get up. I mean, parents start like being really worried with the situation. So they were, I would say like 85% were really grateful with that. And that's what you see when we have like the meetings with parents, say, thank you for those spaces. Thank you for helping my kid. Thank you for listening to him, because we gave them a lot of spaces to talk and talk and talk. And if they didn't want to talk in a group session, teachers and coordinators, and we had the space to talk with them individually. Yeah.
Wow.
And at any time, if they wanted to talk at 7 a.m. or at 7 p.m., we found the space to talk with them. Yeah. Because we are the adults, and supposedly we have the we can hold on the situation, and we have like the experience to manage the situation, even though we are struggling in the same way, because it's hard for us at the same time. But I think it was like the point of success that we had at school. I don't know if you heard that, I don't know if it's happening worldwide, but here in Colombia, many parents are taking the decision to take their kids out of school and saying, I'm going to give them homeschooling. For example, here in Colombia, many of us, we send our kids to private schools, and private schools are really expensive. Yeah. We don't send our kids to public schools. And my parents said, I'm not going to pay anymore. I'm just going to do homeschooling or online schooling to my kids. And at our school, I would say that we haven't had that problem as many other schools, because here in our school, we hear our students. Yeah. I know the academic part is something that we have to pay attention. But if our students are not emotionally balanced, who cares about the academic part? I mean, there's nothing to do with that. Yeah. So we are focusing more in the emotional part. Yeah. We're focusing more that we want to see their faces, that we want them to get up. We want them to take a shower. Yeah. And so we try to encourage them, hey, today's a new day. Let's get up. Let's face life. And let's try to do many things. Yeah. And asking for permission for them to go to school. And we know it was a risk, but we took all the, how would we say? We know it was a risk, yeah, but we knew that if we had it in a really think position, and we did everything really organized, it was going to be successful as well. And we did it. Yeah. And we did it and came out really good.